James Murphy, tell me something great. How's everybody doing today? Happy Thursday. Let's jump right in and let's get a race across Tennessee update. That's important for today because I'm hitting a couple milestones I've been using to really motivate myself lately for the race. So just a few statistics here. Remember, one of my goals was to get under 10,000 in my positioning, and I'm right at 10,082. I've been averaging about 250 people a day, or as few as 26. So that's coming up quick. I'm gonna hit under 9,000 people in my position, and so I'm excited about that. The second thing is I've logged over 307 miles as of today, and I have 48.4% complete in regards to how far I've come. So I'm like almost there at 50%, and I cut one more day off of the end of my estimated completion date. So I'm really excited about that. And I wanted to talk about what this means in terms of what I'm going to experience psychologically and what you can experience, because there's an actual psychological process that most people go through when they run a goal. I know specifically for marathon running, whether it's a 5K, 10K, half marathon, this psychology is the same across the board. And that's important to know because when you have awareness about what your emotional states are, what you can expect, what you know is coming up, it's easy to build better emotional strategies to overcome those things. So let's take a look at the psychology of a race and the psychology of most goals in terms of the process that people go through. Whether it's a goal today, next week, it takes a month, it takes a year, it takes 3 years. I'm gonna go through this in my long race across America, my 3-year goal. So let's talk about this. So most people, if we have an XY axis here, right, we have your motivation and your energy here versus time at the bottom. And most people, their goals start out with what I call a Jerry Maguire moment. If you remember that Tom Cruise movie, I know I'm dating myself a little bit, but that's okay. He has this great epiphany, and so he types out this big, huge inter-office memo. He clicks send. He's all excited. He falls asleep, and then he wakes up the next morning, he walks in the office, and everybody's looking at him like, oh my gosh, what did you do? He ends up getting fired over this email, right? But it was his moment of brilliance. It was like his aha moment, his yes. And that's how a lot of our major goals start out. They're an impulse, they're an inspiration. They carry some powerful emotion. We're like, yes, we love those goals. You want to keep those goals. But the problem is the next morning when you wake up, the left brain kicks into a, how am I going to do that? And so we start with this big, bright idea, and then our motivation wanes right away. And a lot of times we get challenged immediately by something. I told you when I started this race across Tennessee, what I do, I rolled the chair into the back of my heel, took out a big chunk of skin, right? Usually when you set a big goal, you're tested right away. You go through this little test phase right here. In motivation and confidence, you can expect a low sense of motivation and a low sense of confidence to come, because you don't know what you're doing, right? It's trial and error. What am I doing? How am I going to make this stuff happen? And so our energy and our motivation drops because of our confidence over time. And sometimes we can drop into this phase of, hey, this isn't working. Why am I even doing this? This was stupid to start with. You get all that negative self-talk, right? Because remember, when we set a goal, we put our obstacles in place. And those are mental, our beliefs and our self-talk. Emotional, our feelings, how we feel. I don't feel like it today. Physical, our body, physiology, right? I got to take care of my body. And spiritual, having that sense of hope and faith and connection that we can actually follow through and do this thing. Confidence here also goes down, of course, because it seems so far away, the end goal. It's like, but we have to fight the comfort zone. So this energy and our motivation goes down, and we hit kind of this thing of why this isn't even working. Friends start questioning us, all this type of stuff. But if we keep at it a little bit, eventually momentum changes. That's why with that motivational football, we want to take small steps every day, small steps. And so when we come through here, we start to actually go up and we hit one of those little taglines, or not taglines, but we hit one of those median lines like, hey, and this is where we start to go, I can. I'm like, I'm right at 50%. I'm like, I'm almost there. I'm passing my 10,000 goal. All these happening at once. I'm so excited. It's like, yeah, that energy, that momentum comes back. And then guess what? I know where I'm going to be on Monday. Next Monday morning, it's one of my long days. My alarm's going to go off, and guess what? The joy of the being in the 9,000s now is done. The over 50% is done. And I'm going to be like tired. And I'm like, seriously? Ugh. right? And I'm going to dip back down. And sometimes this cycles through for a while, right? If it, depending upon the length of the goal, you cycle through up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And then eventually you're going to get to a place where you're like, okay, but why am I even doing this stuff? I know that's coming. When I hit like right before 3/4 of the way there, I'm going to be like, oh, about 60, 70%. I'm going to be like, oh gosh, it's been so long. It's been like 3 months, seriously. And we hit another dip that's even deeper than the why am I, this isn't working right. And we're going to get into why am I even doing this? That comes for most people in the marathon, right about mile 18, 19, 20. Like, why the heck am I even doing this, right? And so, but then if we just keep at it, you just keep taking those baby steps, you're going to, all of a sudden, you're going to break through the wall at mile 20, and you're going to start coming up and you're going to start seeing the finish line. All that stuff behind you is just gone now. And you start coming up, but it's been a long process. And you've been doing a lot of energy output, a lot of things have been going on, and you're going to hit a point right up about here where you're like, I'm tired, I quit. Right? You're just like, I'm done. For me, when I ran my 100-mile race, that was at mile 95. I quit. I just stopped. I said, I'm done. Can you imagine going 95 miles and you just say, good, I'm done, I quit, right? So, but you're going to hit that point where it doesn't quite, you've given it everything that you can, and this is your breakthrough moment. This is that 5.1 to 5.2% of a mile where you push through that last little bit. That's where your growth happens. That's where all the beauty of all this effort has been accumulating and is put into this joyful moment where finally then you get across the finish line and you win. And then guess what? I didn't draw the rest of this, but then you're going to dip down and you're like, okay, now what? Right? Now I've done this, right? That's why at a 5K, it's the same. Then I had to do a 10K, and a 10K was the same. Then I had to do a half marathon, then a half marathon, then a full, because you keep going, okay, what's next? But the funny thing is it's always, generally speaking, the same process. So the point of today is understand the process, take a step back, have awareness, ask yourself, hey, is what I'm feeling appropriate and warranted in regards to my goal? Are you at a point here where, hey, I just had this brilliant moment, but why am I doing this, but this isn't working for me, right? The lack of self-confidence, the lack of self-esteem, the lack of knowing what you're doing there, right? Because you're clueless as you're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. And then the I can moments, yes, and tap into those exciting moments where you hit those milestones, and then expect that point in time where like, why am I even doing this? Why is this even here? Because I'm done, I'm tired, right? And then when you finally see the end and you start to finish, but you hit that one obstacle that really allows you to have that breakthrough experience at the end, I tell everybody, hey, my finish line is usually not the finish of the race for me. My finish line is at this point right here. I just get my medal there. So keep running your race, keep having an awesome day. I know today's a little bit longer, but I want to forecast, this is great psychology, I want to forecast what's coming up. Next week is going to be health week. I'm going to talk some about how am I feeding my body, how am I staying energized, how am I staying up. Might be some days of some nutritional pieces, some days of physiological pieces, a couple of the really big tools and things that are really key and core for me there. And then of course, the week after that is I think going to be time management week, 5 steps to time management in 5 days. So stay tuned. If you have any questions, if you have any thoughts on what you want to have as a future topic, drop them in, text me, email me. Continue to have an awesome day and keep running your race.